Okay, here's my intro. Let me just erase that right there and go simple. My name's A-Z, no, I don't like that. A-Z-I-Z-A-K-I-B-I-B-I.
Hey, I'm Aziza Kibibi and welcome back to my channel. There is a question that I get asked a lot as far as my upbringing. The fact that my father molested me for a good percentage of my life. I didn't escape him until I was 24 years old. And my mother was in the house. She knew what was going on for most of the time. And I wanted to address that question. But before I get into it, please subscribe if you like videos that really explore the human experience and life in general and the complications of life. And definitely like and share and go down in the comments and sound off. I love conversations. I love when my viewers ask me questions and give their input as well, because that's how we're all going to learn. We all have perspectives and we see things based on our experiences and what we are exposed to differently. And it's important when tackling difficult topics that we look at those topics from as many different vantage points as possible. Okay, so now the purpose of this video is to answer a very popular question.
Did your mom know
about my relationship with my mom?
Is your mom healing, or is she a lost cause?
I'm sure you can imagine, and I have spoken about on many other videos, my mother knowing what my father was doing to me had an effect on me as a child, specifically as an adolescent. Of course, how she interacted with me and the fact that she blamed me for my father abusing me really altered the way I saw myself and saw her and saw the experience of being a mother and the experience of being a daughter. So for a while, especially once I learned that she knew what was happening to me, and I realized that what was happening to me was wrong, because yes, in the early parts, I was completely convinced by my father and I was an obedient child. So I adhered to everything that my father said. But then, of course, you start going through puberty, you start rebelling against the things that your parents tell you. And then there was just the experience of the actual physical pain that I had from my father raping me. So those things made me start to question what he was doing, and then question my mother's role in what he was doing. And according to her, I started showing her attitude. Now, yes, of course, there were times that I did ask her to run away. I asked her why we was not going to run away from my father. And all of the answers that she gave me, I was looking at her as a parent, and I was really hoping that at some point she would see things from my side. But at the same time, having two adults in my life telling me that what was happening to me was supposed to happen to me, I started questioning myself. So no, my relationship with my mom during my youth, when we was under the control and the dictatorship of my father, it was not healthy at all. It just simply wasn't. I couldn't stand my mother. But because once we escaped him, I was intent on having a normal relationship. I was intent on having a mom. I did not want to lose the experience of having a mommy. And because I had my own children and I was going to be the best mother that I was capable of being for them, I wanted to have that with my mother. So I consciously forgave her for what she did. I also, in my education, learned about the dynamics and the complications of a woman who is abused and controlled and brainwashed by a man. So through my understanding of those things, it made it a little easier for me to forgive her and to be compassionate to her situation. And I intently built a relationship with her, and it was an amazing relationship for the most part. I do think that I healed from our situation a lot faster than she did, and I evolved from that life and that mind frame quicker than she did. So while I'm thinking my mom is my best friend and we're going out to parties and we're going to church and we can talk about anything, and she's the first person that I speak to when I wake up in the morning and the last person that I speak to before I go to sleep at night, and the person that I told my secrets to, there was this underlying thing going on in her mind. And I started to see a demonstration from her of jealousies and envies. And what impacted me the most was how she treated my children. So at the end of the day, I chose to love her from afar. There were some things in my life that had taken place, and I needed her help and I needed her support, and she simply just wasn't there. And that's when I just realized, like, she's really not going to be there, at least in that moment, at that time, at the space of healing that she was in at the time. She was not going to be there for me in the way that I needed her to be. And I wish her the best, but I wish her the best away from me. So there has been situations where, of course, I've had to be in her presence. There are still some things that I have to stay connected to her about, more business things. And I have my moments. I have my moments where I miss the positive things that she is, and I miss her grace and her smile. But you got to choose one. You got to choose one. And I think that people, one thing that we do struggle with in relationships is the good and the bad. There's nothing that is all good and there's nothing that is all bad. And at the end of the day, you have to choose which one outweighs the other. If there is potential to get rid of as much bad as possible, or if the love and the positive is strong enough to overpower the effects of whatever may be negative. No one's perfect, and we have to accept that in our relationships and in our experiences in the world. So I keep that in mind when dealing with people, and it applies to everybody. It applies to my children. It applies to my romantic relationships. It applies to my friends and my business associates. But sometimes when you have to recognize and accept the negative in a person or in a situation, you have to make a sacrifice of the benefits that you may get from that situation. But it's okay to grieve it. And sometimes I do grieve it. Sometimes I do grieve the good things because I miss some of those things. I miss having a comrade and someone that understands, or was at least was there present for a lot of the horror, or trying to survive the horror. So that is all I have to say about that for now. Thank you for listening. Thank you for your questions. Definitely keep them coming, and be blessed, for you are a blessing. Bye.